Saturday. Christmas comes early.
Unbelievable! Welcome to this incredible scene.
Bills.
To the end zone!
Chargers.
It's a touchdown!
An exclusive NFL game.
That's fantastic!
Live in primetime.
Wow!
Only on Peacock.
With a Christmas gift to their fans.
They're having some fun now.
Bills versus Chargers. Saturday, 7:30 Eastern. Exclusively on Peacock.
This episode is brought to you by Google Pixel, the official fan phone of the NBA and WNBA. The new Pixel 8 and Pixel 8 Pro are built different. How? Take the Audio Magic Eraser tool. It helps block out distracting crowd noise so your play-by-play commentary sounds crystal clear. The only phone engineered by Google brings out the audio you care about so your videos sound as crisp as they look. Learn more at googlestore.com/pixelnba. Audio Magic Eraser requires Google Photos app. May not work on all audio elements.
'Tis the season to shine with H&M. Discover the holiday collection and find fashionable pieces for your wardrobe or for under the tree. Get inspired and dazzle with this year's glam. From tuxedo styles, bow detailed pieces, impressive prints, and more. From unforgettable looks to unforgettable gifts. With fashion finds to home decor, find it all at H&M. Treat your loved ones and yourself this season. Shop in-store or at hm.com.
Apple Gift Card is a practical gift that unlocks a world of entertainment and fun. You can send it via email or give a physical card to your loved ones. Your friends and family can spend it on their favorite Apple services, including Apple subscriptions. Apple Gift Card can be used to buy all things Apple. Products, accessories, apps, games, movies, TV shows, iCloud Plus, and more. Visit apple.com for details and to send Apple Gift Cards to your friends and family this holiday season.
Back with another episode of The Blue Turf. This is Thad Bell from the Kansas City Soccer Journal. With me, Eric Bergrud, Kansas City broadcast team, incomparable man around town. Sir, how are you?
Not only am I great, I'm happy to be back at the world-famous Kansas City Soccer Dome.
As we were just reminded by one of the players.
That's right. See, people do listen to our podcast, Thad.
I had a couple people stop me after the game the other night and say that they listened to every one, and that's the only pod they listen to. So
that's fantastic. And if you haven't subscribed yet, definitely subscribe. You get a alert in your email, not only on Kansas City Comets news, but other teams around town.
Yep, covering all kinds of Kansas City soccer. I know some fans here may only be indoor, but we cover everything. Exciting win the other night, Eric.
Yeah, I think what was interesting is we saw St. Louis in their opener against Milwaukee play defense. It wound up being a 2-1 loss in overtime, and I expected them to go defense first against Kansas City, and they did. The difference was Kansas City found gaps in the defense. Their transition game markedly improved this year, and the only two questions I guess you could have is, one, could they have sustained the shutout? And I know Coach Stefan Stokic was a little unhappy that they gave up 2 goals at the end. And two, could they have poured it on a little bit more? But other than that, another superlative effort from the first-place Comets.
Yeah, Coach was a little unhappy they did not get the shutout. Talked to Neto, though, and he said, well, the shutout would have been nice, but the more important thing that I'm disappointed in is that we didn't cover the details, and that's what's so important to him.
Well, absolutely, because these games are early. They haven't played on the road yet, and they haven't played some of the top teams in the league yet, and those mistakes get magnified in other environments.
Very, very true. Anybody stand out to you in that game?
Well, a couple players. I'd say I interviewed Ray Lee after the game. I thought Ray was great both ways. Two people I didn't interview that I thought were terrific. One was Rion Marquez, goal and 2 assists. He wound up getting the top star of the match by the media. And another stellar game by Nicolai Neto, 15 and 16 saves in his first 2 games. And we're recording this on Wednesday. I would not be surprised if he repeats as goalkeeper of the week in the MASL.
pretty sure the Comets are not going to sweep the voting this week.
Well, what was funny is last week we heard a little bit about this in terms of where was the love for the Mexican teams. Monterrey had won and Chihuahua had won. But if you look just pure statistically, Comets players had done so well. I mean, for me, it wasn't a surprise. This week, if you look at Monterrey's stats, they lit it up offensively. So there's no doubt in my mind that one of two Monterrey players will get the offensive player of the week. But when you look at the other categories, defense and then goalkeeper, it's a little blurry on the defensive side because there wasn't a standout player across the league who had 10 blocks like Berto did the first week. And then if you look at goalkeeper, nobody came close to Neto in terms of saves, and he also had the least goals allowed. So for me, it's going to be a split vote, and we'll see what the league announces.
So Neto had, you said 16 saves? 15,
it
16?
is 15 or 16, yeah.
And I would love to think that the Comets were being a really good defensive team, but when you allow that many shots, I mean, I know it's indoor, you're going to get a lot of shots, but one thing that Neto had pointed out was that the shots are more predictable this year. You know, players like Berto, Vandegriffe, you know, and Ray Lee and Nacho and Sosa were limiting the shots to more predictable angles, so it's easier to save. I don't want to say easy, but he knows where he needs to be.
Yeah, I mean, some of the shots I recall, Schmerman on the yellow line, which makes it easier for Neto to see. I think as a goalkeeper, it's not that you don't want to face any shots, it's that you want to see the shots you face. And what was interesting, I was a slight bit surprised the way the defensive pairings lined up, that you had two former MASL Defenders of the Year on the same line together, which is really interesting. And so I have a couple theories about that too, but seeing Vandegriffe and Palmer on the same line, that has to make Neto feel very comfortable in front of him. And you can see his game. He's not going out as much as he used to because there's more predictability in front of him on defense. And I'd say on that other line, Sosa and Lee obviously can defend. Neither of them have gotten that award, but they both can defend. But then on the transition game, you have Sosa lighting it up offensively. You have Ray Lee lighting it up offensively this year too. And so depending on who the Comets throw out there, it creates challenges for the other team.
Yeah, I know we talked a little bit about before the season what those defensive pairings would be, and I was expecting Chad to be on one and Berto to be on the other, but so far it's working. Maybe I'll have to ask Stefan about that.
No, it's definitely working, and particularly since that other line, I don't know if there's necessarily a first line or second line, but that other line of Lee and Sosa is producing offensively too, so it just gives the Comets more looks, more options, and this is a difficult team to plan for if you're an opposing head coach.
Yeah, I think in our mind we always think, okay, there'll be a more defensive defender and a more offensive defender, but maybe it's the more defensive ones are going against the higher scorers from the other team, the better attackers. There's a logic.
Yeah, and St. Louis, to be fair, they were short some players both for injury issues and visa issues. So looking at the matchups, the pure target left out there was Mike De Silva, who scored a goal against the Comets. But on that other line defensively, Chad Vandegriffe getting an assist on Christian Andreas' goal. So it's not like the defenders of the year can't produce offensively. Right. It's that they're thinking defense first.
Which is what you really want defenders to do, at least most cases. Anybody else stand out? I mean, Neto, the defense, who on the attack?
He didn't score a goal. Again, came close. Mikey Lennis continues to impress me in the midfield. Nacho, when he stays healthy, is a force. I was watching him get into it on Sunday and was just thinking about Roger Espinoza in terms of the type of player you want in your midfield. Somebody who's going to get stuck in tackles, somebody who is going to be a dominating presence out there, and I think Nacho has filled that role. It's like anything in indoor soccer that, I mean, ultimately teams will have injuries, you battle through injuries. Hopefully for Nacho, he can stay healthy all this season.
I think that's been Nacho's biggest knock, is that he has not been able to stay healthy. I don't know for how long now, quite honestly. I would love to see him stay healthy and see just how good he can be, because every year he would have a couple games where he'd score a couple goals and an assist and, be a star of the game. But then it would kind of not be there for most of the rest of the year. So I just want to see how that goes for him, because he's been one of the highlights this year.
Well, and the other thing, I'm sure Comets fans are getting excited and thinking about trophies and championship rings. Not to throw some water on this, but the Comets haven't played on the road yet. And so they did what they had to do. You want to win all 12 games at home. And not only win them, you want to win them in regulation so you catch all 3 points.
Which was a problem last year.
But if you want to win a championship like the Vlatko Andonovski team did almost a decade ago, you have to be able to not only win on the road, but to be intimidating on the road. And that's going to be the sign of how the Comets have evolved from last year to this season.
Yeah, the Vlatko era of the Comets, I have told people, was almost boring. You knew they were going to win at home by double digits. You knew they were going to win on the road by 4 or 5 pretty easily, usually. Not every game, but it was pretty dang close. It was almost boring, but...
Well, do you think San Diego Sockers fans in the 80s really felt like they were missing something when they won a championship every year? I think there's a lot of Comets fans that would love to have that problem.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, predictable, we're going to win.
Yeah, I'm not saying you don't want that problem, but it is, you do become jaded after a while. I'm like, okay, they're going to win again, but that would be a good problem to have right now. So we'll see if Coach gets them there. Yeah, I've been impressed with Linus. I did think he came close to a goal. Didn't hit it probably as good as he could have, but as well as he could have. And he's been looking good. Henry, Lalo, a lot of the young guys are looking pretty good. And I know that those guys have been around for a couple of years, but they're getting serious playing time right now.
The other thing, we've seen 2 games in a row is Coach Stokic holding out Leo Gibson in the first half and then getting creative in the second half, where it's either Gibson reg it, Marquez reg it, and so it's early in the season, but I don't know if this is going to be the game plan for all 24 games, but it really causes teams to think when 2 targets are out there at the same time.
And I believe there are only 2 non-goalie players that don't have a point yet that have played. One of them being DeBray Hollimon, who played in the first game, and Leo, who has played in both, but only a half.
Right, and I think what was probably better the second game than the first game is the distribution of points. Sure, fans would love to see Zach Reggett get a hat trick every game, but the fact that so many different players scored, that's better for the team.
Oh, it is better for the team, but it's also nice to have that guy who scores a lot.
Sure.
It makes it fun. But yeah, there's always that argument with teams. Do you want to have the one superstar who can carry the team, or do you want to have the entire team be really good, but then you don't have that go-to person when it comes to a crunch time too? So there's always that argument, and I think the Comets are in a spot where they might have a little bit of both.
Well, and kudos to my broadcast partner, Nick Vassos. So the Comets were awarded a penalty kick on a video review on Sunday, and I just assumed that Zach Reggett was going to come out to take it, but Stokic selected Rion Marquez to take it. Marquez went top shelf and scored, and to Nick's credit, he said, this is a good opportunity to show confidence in Rion and get Rion going the way we saw his rookie season. And so kudos to Nick for seeing that. Kudos to Coach Stokic for doing that. And hopefully this is a multiplayer show and not just a one-player show.
It is. I mean, I'm sure Zach didn't care that Rion got to take it, but it just goes back to kind of when during Zach's first game, he was given the opportunity to score on a shootout, and he took it, and it shows the kind of teamwork and camaraderie that everybody's doing here. Everybody always says, "Oh, I don't care if I score as long as the team wins," but it does kind of show more when you actually do that.
That was the first of 5, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Against his former team.
Yep. But it was I believe it was Sosa who could have taken that.
That's right.
And Sosa like, no, here, you take it. And, he went and scored, and, the rest is history. But it's those little moments that I look for. You can look at, okay, people put up a goal here or 2 goals or whatever, but it's those little team things that will mean the team will be better in the long run, not necessarily the short run.
Yeah, no, agree with that. And I thought across the board, solid efforts for the Comets, maybe differently than the first game. There weren't so many singular players. It was more a team win than it was a couple players who stood out.
I know we already said we need to see this team go on the road and win and how they'll do. And right now it's hard to judge how good they are because they played 2 teams at home, 2 teams that have only played each other other than the Comets. So we don't really know how good they are. Is Milwaukee really good and St. Louis, halfway good, or are they both mediocre or bad? And I know they both missing players, but we said here last year, Comets missing a ton of players, and we said, that can't use that as an excuse. There is modifying factors, of course, but that's...
Sure. So when the schedule was released and I looked at it, I saw 2 things right away. One, an opportunity in December for the Comets to build some serious momentum. Sure, they have to go on the road, but there's some good tests for them, and we'll talk about the one coming up this Saturday. But that's in advance of, if you look ahead to January, and then you start looking at a 6-game road trip with 3 games in a row in 1 week in Mexico, that this is the time for the Comets to make their mark, because what we saw last year and perhaps the year before that is middle of the season, particularly on the road, it didn't go the way they wanted, and the bar that they set, they never reached. I think this month defines where this team can go this season. And so it starts this Saturday in Harrisburg, and then the following weekend home and home against a really powerful Texas Outlaws team.
It's it will be the opportunity to set that, but again, that middle stretch with all those games on the road will. I think we're going to probably make this argument through all 3 phases of the early season, the middle season, and the late season, that each one of them is crucial in some way or form, because the early season is getting established, getting the reputation as being good and living up to it. Middle part of that season is going to be tough because like you said, 3 games in Mexico, tough long road trip, 6 games total. That's going to be, they're going to have to get points. Otherwise, they're going to drop in standings. And that last part is going to be closing it out, getting back from a road trip, closing it out, trying to establish that, make that playoff run. That's all going to come in there. So I think we're going to probably make an argument that each one of them is the most important.
Well, they are. But if you start off strong, that takes a little bit of the pressure off you later on. And I had a good conversation with new Comets defender Chad Vandegriffe, whom I interviewed for Sunday's game, but I was chatting with him before. And you cannot take any game in this league for granted. And so you look roster by roster where Kansas City lines up, and you can say, oh, we should beat that team, or we're going to battle against that team. The teams you think you're going to beat, they're coming to play every week, and I don't think the Comets are going to have opportunities like Monterey did this Sunday to lay on 22 points against any team. I could be proven wrong, but you can't just look past everybody, and the focus here this week at the world-famous Kansas City Soccer Dome is being prepared for Harrisburg, because Harrisburg gave Utica quite the game Saturday night.
Hey, another nice thing from this game was a sellout, full crowd. Got to see a good game. It
was loud in there. So I arrived 2 hours before kickoff, and it felt like the arena was half filled already. It was Heartland night, and so there were a lot of kids getting awards that day. It was loud in there. We were trying to record our interviews pregame, and it was loud while we were doing that, and during the game it was loud, and we were having sometimes a hard time hearing just because it was so loud during the game. That's what Comets would love to experience every home game at Cable Dahmer Arena.
That's a lot of players that come to play here. They relish that because, not pointing any fingers at any teams in the world, but Zach and Chad came from a team that didn't have the greatest attendance, and it having a loud, full crowd means a lot. Stefan mentioned that after the game too, is that we know the players aren't paid as much as what you would want them to be paid, so part of that payment is the reward of getting to hear a loud crowd.
Well, and if you go to the MASL's website, you look under stats, click on attendance, and you can see where Kansas City matches up. Not every team has had a home game yet, but I am fairly confident Kansas City will lead the league in attendance again this season, and that is an important factor when you're thinking about free agents and where players want to go. And so there are other teams that don't have the attendance that I'm thinking of San Diego. They don't have the attendance, but you figure they're going to be in the title hunt every year. So people will forego that for the opportunity to win a championship. Yes, the attendance is important here, but I think that if you were to ask a Zach Reggett or a Chad Vandegriffe, they believe this team is capable of winning a championship too. So imagine being able to play for a team not only that can lead the league in attendance, but also compete for a championship. That's a pretty attractive option for free agent players.
And if you can't hear, there is the practice going on in the background. Hear some balls and shouts maybe. There's ambient noise on the broadcast on the pod. So I'm just watching to see who's out there now.
It's more fun doing this at the world famous Kansas City Soccer Dome than on Zoom because we actually have atmosphere here.
We do. Like, who are we missing now? I don't know. I don't see.
Maybe we shouldn't say if we don't. What's always fun on the main field is they start off without the goalkeeper, so you wonder who's in practice, who's not, and usually the goalkeepers start on the second field, and so it doesn't get interesting until everybody's back on one surface.
Absolutely. All right. I'm going to say that this is the end of segment 1, and we're going to go into segment 2, and there may be a little bit of a commercial break in between. Apologize, but that's how we have to do it.
The holidays are a time to feel and create joy. And what could be more joyous than the look on her face as she unwraps a stunning new jewelry piece from Blue Nile? How about getting 50% off your purchase? Blue Nile offers premium quality, priced below traditional retail. Their online experts are available 24/7 to answer any questions and make sure you've picked the perfect gift. For a limited time, you can get 50% off at BlueNile.com. That's 50% off at BlueNile.com.
Introducing Royal Caribbean's newest ship, Icon of the Seas, the ultimate family vacation. The ultimate 6 slides, 8 neighborhoods, 0 compromise vacation. The ultimate never done that, can't wait to do it vacation. The ultimate chillin' by a different pool every day of the week vacation. This is the Icon of Vacations. Icon of the Seas, arriving in 2024. Book today. Come seek the Royal Caribbean. Ships Registry, Bahamas.
Back into segment 2. This weekend's game. Harrisburg.
Well, Harrisburg, we have some friends, old friends on that team. Dom Francis had a goal at Utica City. Lucia Tetsane did not play. I haven't checked on his status just to see how and where he's at, but they brought in players too, most notably Joey Tavernese. They brought in Hugo Silva from Florida. It hasn't been clear what his visa status is, so I'm not sure where he stands, but this team got better at the end of last season, and if you look at their roster, it's improved from where they ended last season. So I don't expect them to win a championship, but I do expect them to play every game competitively. They have a coach who doesn't have the resources that many other teams does, and he gets a lot from his players, and that's Pat Healy. And so I would expect a battle there. That surface is interesting because they lay the turf on top of a dirt surface there at the arena in Harrisburg, and so it can create interesting hops when you're trying to pass the ball, and so it's a little bit of an unpredictable experience there. Comets won there last season. They need 3 points. This is not we'll take 2 points, we'll take 1 point. They need 3 points coming in because the following weekend is going to be really telling.
Yeah, that will be a very tough match. Who else? I know you said Dom scored, and we haven't seen Lucia. I'd actually saw that he was not in town while they were in their preseason. I'm not going to mention where I saw him.
Right. No. No. They have. What's been interesting about Harrisburg is not necessarily who they have now, but who they had and what they've lost. If you go back pre-COVID and look at the team that they had, they ended the 1920 season, and I'll throw some names out at you. Think Tavoy Morgan, think William Eskay. I mean, they had, and then Don Francis there. They had a nucleus of a really good team. Anybody would raise their hand first. Could I have any one of those guys on my team? And then they sat out that COVID season. They wound up lending players out to play, and Francis is the only one who went back. And then they found right away the gaps there in terms of scoring and firepower, and they're trying to build that back up. But they made some interesting moves last year. They were involved in the Zach Reggett trade. Interestingly enough, they traded Reggett to the Comets for 3 players. Tetsane, you mentioned, Mike DeSilva and Richard Schmerman. And Mike DeSilva and Richard Schmerman did not stay there in Harrisburg. Both are in St. Louis now. And so Tetsane, when he plays, I have a lot of respect for his game, but they haven't been able to find their footing or the place where they existed pre-COVID. And you think rebuild. That's what it feels like Harrisburg's been doing.
Well, it takes a while to do a good rebuild, especially if you can't just go out and get every free agent that's out there, from the Florida fire sale or.
Well, and then the other question is what's happening in Baltimore, because there's been a lot of banter online about the status of players that have been suspended by the Blast, and will they be traded to other teams or allowed to sign with other teams? You think Baltimore and Harrisburg is with the closest proximity to Baltimore. There's going back to the NPSL era, there's been a history of Baltimore players winding up in Harrisburg, so I wouldn't rule out the possibility that Harrisburg picks up some players, but right now it's not clear who owns the rights to some of the individuals not currently playing for the Blast.
Well, that's been a whole nother story, and I think I'm not competent to really discuss the whole thing, but I know players suspended or told that they were I don't know the whole story, but it seemed like there's been
multiple statements that have been posted, right, including a revised statement. But suffice it to say, what made me mention this is you talk about Harrisburg rebuilding. Well, they may have access to free agents, they may not, and we'll see as the season progresses.
I will actively listen to whichever pod explains everything that's going on there. So.
Well, I don't think that once anybody figures it out, then I'm sure somebody will report it.
Because all I've been seeing is what's been posted on social media, and that there was some statements made that were incredibly surprising that some legal professional would make that statement. But
here we are. And the thing, it was interesting. I didn't catch all of the Texas Outlaws Baltimore Blast game this past Saturday. Baltimore got off to an early lead, and I'm thinking to myself, hey, they're going to feel pretty good after all the banter, all the comments online. Hey, they win their first game at home, and maybe people will forgive, but Texas came out strong in the second half. They have 3 great scorers on their team, and won in one of the most difficult places to win, which I imagine caused some Blast fans to start thinking, holy cow, what's going to happen to us this season? And if we lose at home to the Outlaws, and no disrespect to the Outlaws, but when you think about the West, you think about the Sockers, you think about Chihuahua, and then maybe Texas gets into the conversation, but that Texas team is for real, and the Comets are going to see a bit of them in a couple weeks. Home-and-home series coming up. So for Baltimore, you start looking at the Eastern Conference that was 7 teams, 4 of whom will qualify for the playoffs. And you have Monterey, who's looking really, really good. They beat Dallas 22-5 this past Sunday. You have the Comets. Both teams are 2-0. Then you start talking about Utica, 1-0. You talk about Milwaukee. Once they get back at home, will they start cranking out wins? Baltimore, Harrisburg, St. Louis. And I think Blast fans just assume they're owed many Blast fans assume they're owed a spot in the playoffs. I don't think it's going to be that easy for them. And Milwaukee fans who've been wringing their hands after losing to the Comets may feel a little bit better, like, oh, hey, maybe we have a little bit of buffer here, but we'll see.
And I have to admit, the non-professional fan side of me enjoys the Blast having troubles.
Well, this is a franchise that has won a lot of championships. This is a franchise that hasn't been afraid to get into it with other teams across the league. Including the Comets. And so I think that maybe more so than many franchises, there are other teams that savor when things aren't going perfectly for the Blast. But I mean, I think in a different ways, when San Diego's not winning championships, I think there are fans that enjoy that. And some of it's out of respect. When you have a team that's won 16 championships and they don't win one, you could take a little bit of solace out of it. But with the Blast, it's a little bit different. It's more attitude than anything else.
And so much of it comes from fans and an owner, perhaps. But we'll get into that on another day, I'm sure.
I'm sure we will.
What do the Comets need to do going in there to Harrisburg?
Consistent defensively, transition. I mean, I think it's like, what do they talk about, blocking and tackling in football? And they talk about blocking and tackling in business, right? Well, you start with the defense. You want to play consistent defense. You want to be able to when you get the ball, quickly get into transition, and you want to find opportunities for your goal scorers to put them in places where they can produce. So I think if they keep playing the way they have been the first two games, they'll be in good shape on Saturday night. But it has to be with the same mindset that this is our game, and they need to come in like those Comets teams of old. That for me is the test, is what's the attitude going to be on Saturday night? Is it going to be the attitude that we got used to seeing when Vahid Asapor was here and some other players were here, where they would go away and would expect they're going to dominate?
Yep.
We will see.
And I think I'm just going to add to that is they need to play, I mean, it sounds stupid, but they need to play all four quarters the same way. It can't be a half. It can't be three quarters. It's got to be all four.
Yeah, and Harrisburg shows they have a good team. I mean, the Comets played tough games against them last year, so there was no cakewalk experience. And so if fans are thinking, oh, just check this one off, no. I think that any win will have to be earned. Any win needs to be earned anyway, but this is a good test for this team to get this game on the road at this point in the season.
Yeah, not perhaps the toughest team to go face, but a tough team.
No, yeah, sure. In a tough environment,
right.
That is not an easy arena to play in.
So more like a natural grass surface too, like you said, over the dirt.
Hey, there you go.
Maybe that'll help Mikey Linus.
We'll see.
Anything else we need to discuss today?
Well, we'll take a look at Harrisburg coming in this week, and then when we come back on next week's pod, it'll be a preview. Well, we'll look back at the Heat game, but we'll preview a home and away with Texas. And I'm actually going down there for that Saturday night game in Mesquite. Looking forward to that. Sort of a similar situation where it's a rodeo arena, if you want to call it that they play indoor soccer, and I'm looking forward to seeing that, and then coming back and calling a game the next day. So hopefully next week it'll be an encouraging mood when we get back on the pod, but you have to play them one game at a time. Somebody said that.
Yeah, I think somebody needs to do an article on all the different stadiums in this league and the differences from the more standard professional stadiums to the I don't want to say less professional, but the more unique ones.
Well, I get that, and I get that fans, in particular Milwaukee fans, comment about this a lot, and I think that comes back to their rivalry with Baltimore. But now that there are so many teams with the smaller fields, it's not just Baltimore, it's Chihuahua and Monterey where they've moved. When you grow up playing youth soccer, well, no, I'm going to rephrase that. When I grew up playing youth soccer, I knew that not all two fields were going to be the same. In some cases, you were playing on mud. I don't know that exists anymore because kids are expecting to play on turf everywhere. But sure, in previous eras, just about every team played on a hockey-sized indoor soccer surface. Well, that's great. That was great in the 1980s. We are where we are here, and teams need to be able to adapt. And the better teams can win anywhere and don't use the size of a field or what's underneath the turf as an excuse.
Yeah, I don't ever want to use an excuse. It is a factor, though, when you're used to playing on one size versus another. But it's a factor at home for anybody. You
might recall we were here this past spring when the Comets were getting prepared to play in Baltimore, and they were trying to figure out in practice, how do we shrink the field here at the Soccer Dome to approximate what they would experience in Baltimore. So it is a factor, and teams need to adapt, but that's what they signed up for. It's kind of like when the rules come out, the schedule comes out, and then you say, oh, it's not fair, this didn't work the way we wanted. Well, you knew the rules when you started the season, and so it's a responsibility for each team to get as many points as they can based on the rules, based on the schedule, based on the situation the league lays out.
I need to go look at the results from previous games, but is it easier to go from a small field to your home to play on the big field, or vice versa?
I think it'd be good to look at that. I don't know, and I think part of what's going to be telling this year, since you look at Baltimore, Chihuahua, and Monterey, and chances that Kansas City's going to have on the road, Monterey and Chihuahua are arguably the two best teams in the league. So I think they can play against you on a futsal court, on on any surface. They're going to come to play against you. And so, sure, the small field is a disadvantage coming in, but the bigger disadvantage is the talent you're going against. And maybe Baltimore's not in that same category anymore.
Oh, that depresses me. I'm just kidding. Yeah. I wish everybody could see the look Eric just gave me on that one. All right. Well, thanks, Eric. We will talk later, and I'm sure we will be back next week to do another one. If there's any questions or comments or whatever, let me know. Rate, review, subscribe, and I might be back after this with another interview, and I might do it as a separate one. So stay tuned. Either way, listen through the music. It won't be too long if there's another interview after it. Appreciate it, and we're out. Back with another interview. Coach Stefan Stokic, how are you today, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. 2 wins, 2 games. Pretty good start to the season. How are you feeling?
Feeling good. I think we're achieving what we wanted to achieve, like we talked about before. There's still a lot of things that we need to work on. But I think for a starting point where we started, it's really good. We still got to improve in a lot of aspects of the game, and it's a really good start.
I know you're probably going into the season having expectations of where you'll be at certain points, first game, second game, that sort of thing. Are you where you wanted to be at this point?
Yes. Yeah. You can't, having 2 wins is kind of a dream start, right? There's things that sometimes doesn't go your way, so you're worried about that. But I think as of now, we're in a good spot. We have good momentum going forward, and if we keep learning from each game and improving what we need to improve on, it will get better and better by each stage.
Is there anything that surprised you so far?
I wouldn't say surprise me. I have high expectations, so I wouldn't say something surprised me. But I think I'm really happy with the fact that we're 2-0, and for the first 2 games we played really well. despite some things. But I mean, for me, I think being 2-0 is not a surprise. I think right now everything's falling into place, so I would say more of what I expected.
What has this meant for you now? Because I mean, I know we've talked a little bit about it when we talked earlier before the season, but you're a person who played for the team, been an assistant coach, and now the head coach. Just stepping out there that first game, what did that mean for you, man?
I mean, it was. I'm having goosebumps right now. It was an unbelievable feeling. I mean, I had a moment where we're waiting to walk out on the field. Neto was next to me, and I was just standing there and prepared for walking out on the field, and I just started tearing up. I have no idea, no control over it. To be honest, it just, I guess, a lot of emotions, and that moment came, and it means a lot to me. Like I told you before, it's a dream come true, and with the history that I have with the club and just everything that, winning a championship with them and now being a part of it on another level is just, something special. Not a lot of players can say they have that opportunity. So.
Yeah, I know that you're tearing up behind the scenes a little bit, but I could still see the emotion on you when you were standing there as the national anthem's playing in the line there. I mean, that's got to be a lot of feelings there.
It is. There were a lot of things going through my head, but it was special, very special for me and my family.
How about after that first win? Were you about ready to go again?
I to be honest, I mean, I was, very excited, ready to go, very happy with the win. But then I was just right away, to be honest with you, the next game.
I know when we talked before, you wanted to work on the transitions and various things. Just how do you feel like that has been accepted and learned by the guys so far?
It's been good. We still have some moments where we kind of, lose that for a second or two, but I think it's, a good starting point. And, for me, watching the last game, I would say that St. Louis only caught us 2 or 3 times on a transitional moment. That's really, really good. Indoor game is, if they only catch us 2 or 3 times, that's good. If they catch us more than that, then it becomes an issue. But I think for the most part is they're bought in, and we do have moments, but we keep working on it and getting better and better.
Just from the outside looking in, last year it felt like a lot of times the team would have a good half of the game or maybe three quarters, but it didn't ever really often last year put together a full complete game. It seems like both of these games have been pretty close to a complete game, except a minute here or 2 minutes there, that sort of thing. Are you seeing the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of talked about it after the game. The one thing that I was really upset with, and I'm still upset with, is letting in those 2 goals, and we fell asleep for 2 or 3 minutes, and we can't let that happen. If we want to be a championship team, we can't let that happen against the Monterreys, the San Diegos, the Chihuahuas, the top teams. So for me, staying disciplined and focused for the whole game is very, very important, and I think we're very close to that. I think for the most part we have been, except for a couple moments, and I think that's a good spot to start from improving and getting better with, and not having those moments anymore.
Yeah. Watching the players who played in the first couple of games, you had some young guys who were making, good moments. I think almost everybody has got at least 1 point out of these first couple games. Just how are the young guys doing? And you still got some guys who haven't played yet. Either been injured or fighting for that time. Just how is it? How do you feel like that whole group is coming together?
It's coming. I mean, again, they're young. They still have, it takes time to learn this game, and for the first couple games, I think they've done very well, but they still have a lot more to improve. So our expectations always grow by each game, but I think for the most part for me is just watching how they bought in and into the roles, and they're improving and getting better. And if we continue that, then, like you said earlier, there's still players that we haven't played yet. And I think that depth is helping us a little bit too with the mentality, So I think for me personally, it's going well, but it needs to be better. If we're talking now down the line, championship, it needs to be better.
Then anything you can tell us about the upcoming game against Harrisburg?
Like what?
What do you expect from them?
I expect a good game from Harrisburg. I think they added on quality players. I think they're not, compared to before, I think they had too many weaknesses, but now they straighten up a little bit with Abassi in the back, Temernazi up top. You know, we all know Dom very well, played with us, very dangerous. They have, you know, a couple players that are pretty fast in the midfield as well. So for me, I think, you know, they've upgraded this season, and I think it's going to be a tougher game than, you know, people think. Oh, well, you guys are playing well. I was like, yeah, but still, going to Harrisburg on that field is not going to be easy.
I know we're about 25 minutes maybe after the official practice ended, and there's still some guys out here practicing. Is that required, or are they doing that as extra?
Especially with the young guys, it's required. I mean, to a point is, you know, if they want to get better, they have to work. They have to stay extra. They have to be first. They have to be last. So I would say it's not a requirement, but it's been put there as a option. So they're doing well with that one. So.
I would say, well, it's not just young guys out there. I think I see Berto. I don't have my glasses on, but I think I see Berto out there, some veterans, and I watched practice where, you know, afterwards you had Berto pull some younger guys over and like try to teach them how to take on defenders, and how key is like you having, you know, veterans like that and, you know, teaching the young guys.
It's very important. I think, you know, we have a leadership role group. And, you know, I challenge them of, you know, as much as I can do and prepare them and make them ready. But, you know, for me, when I came in to play in 2004, I had, you know, players, veterans that were helping me out and made a huge difference for me. So, you know, I challenge the veteran group is to, you know, help these kids out as much as you can. And they've been great with that. I mean, from Berto, Leo, and to the rest of them. So.
Now you say that, who's a couple of veterans that maybe helped you learn when you were young?
Dino Delevsky, Vlatko Andonovsky, Miki Jerisilo. You know, they were the most, because we were from the same country, or if not close.
Same region.
Same region, yes. So for me, they were, you know, Jeff Davis was there as well. You know, that time when I played, when there was a lot of veterans at that time, so you couldn't really get away with a lot of things as a young kid because there were so many of them. But I think, you know, for me, the most ones is Dino, Vlatko, and Mickey for sure.
Cool. Hey, Coach, I know I don't want to take up too much of your time,
you're fine.
I just I appreciate it, man. Anything you'd want the fans to know about how things are going so far?
You know, we work hard for you guys. I mean, we do this for the fans. We really appreciate, you know, the sellout on Sunday, and hope that, you know, you guys come out and keep supporting us, because it does really make a big difference. We kind of call it as a 7 attacker, you know, extra player. But I think for us, and I know me as a player, even as a coach now, having that crowd there, it makes a huge difference for us. So please come out, keep coming out, and we play for you guys.
They weren't egging you on when you had a little tiff with the other team the other night, did you?
No, that's all right. That's just game stuff. So
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for the time, and we are out.
Thank you.
Back with another interview here. DeBray Hollimon, is that the right way to say it, man?
Correct, yep.
I always worry about when I say a name the first time because everybody has their own pronunciations. DeBray Hollimon, Kansas City Comet defender. You came to the Comets last year, right?
Correct, yep.
And you've been on the back line. Just how has it been to be playing for Kansas City?
Oh, man, it's been a hell of an experience, you know, having guys like Nacho and John and Berto there to give me, you know, insiders and tips and stuff has been very helpful for myself in improving my own game.
I know a lot of players like coming to Kansas City because the crowds are usually really good. How has that been for you?
It makes you a little more nervous, to be honest with you. I'm not used to playing in front of that many people day in and day out, you know. So it's nerve-wracking, but it's also to not be able to talk to the guy standing next to you makes for a great atmosphere.
Yeah, it's always good to have that crowd, but a little extra reason you like to come to Kansas City. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, my dad played here a while back. I've actually come here a few times to try out, and I didn't make it, and I went elsewhere and, you know, started my career there. But, you know, coming here has always been a dream of mine, and I know I've watched John play since I was in high school, you know, so to play with him now is surreal.
I know I've seen you since I'm not even sure how old you were, man. You were with the Sporting Academy or whatever they were called at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And watching you, and I was talking to your dad on the sideline about how good you were going to be and stuff like that. He's always been really proud of you and stuff. It's just it was a special moment to see you come back to Kansas City.
Absolutely, it's a special moment for me too, and I definitely feel it. To wear that name on the back of your jersey and to step out there in front of 6,000 fans is truly special.
What has your dad told you about playing indoor?
Just keep your head down and never know too much. Always take in as much information as you can and listen to the guys that have been here for a long time. And when your time comes, make the most of it.
I'm drawing a blank. Was your dad a defender or an attacker? Or?
So he started his career out as a target, and then further progressed his way back into the midfield. And towards the end of his career, he ended as a defender. Yeah.
Is it because you get older and slower? Or?
Maybe.
I'm just kidding. I tease defenders about that, but I was a defender too. So yeah, I was never super fast. So
yeah.
But I was smart. That's what smart guys
Very
go on defense.
Yep.
I know last year you traded here. How much different is it getting the preseason to train with the guys? And
oh well, this is my first indoor preseason that I've had 2-a-days. It's by far the hardest. Sessions, 2-day sessions that I've gone through, and hardest preseason by far, for sure.
I know Coach said he was going to be hard on you guys to get you ready for this season.
Oh, he didn't lie about that. He didn't lie at all.
What do you think? Stefan was a good defender. He played a lot of different spots too. But you got, like you said, other great defenders on the team, Sosa and Roberto and Chad now. I mean, just Nacho, just everybody. Like Neto was listing all the defenders the other night who helped him be good, and he's like listing them out, and he's like, it's amazing how good the defensive core is on this team. Yeah,
it's really strong. Every day is a competitive day. You never know if you're going to be in the lineup or not, and you have to show up ready to play. Otherwise, it just may not be your day.
I know you want to play every game, but having that competition does push you.
Absolutely. You can't come out here and take a day off. You can't come out here and just have a jog and have a laugh. Every day is serious. Every day we're battling, and if you take a day off, that could be the make or break for your career.
Kind of going back to your past a little bit. I know your dad was from Wichita, played in Wichita, played here, but you grew up mostly in Wichita area, didn't you?
Correct. Yeah, I was in Wichita until I graduated high school, and then that's when I moved out to California for college.
Because I remember talking to your dad when you were with the Sporting Academy teams about traveling up to go to practices and games and stuff like that. That was a lot of work.
Yeah, it was. Every Tuesday to Thursday, I'd get out of school at 3:10, get on the road, get to training about 6:30, start at 7, be done at 8:30, get on the road by 9, home by midnight. And we were doing that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday every week, plus travel on the weekends. So I got a lot of respect for my parents, because without them, it definitely wouldn't have been possible.
Were you doing the homework in the car on the way?
You could say that, yeah. It was more like studying the back of my eyelids, but yeah.
Homework wasn't the priority at that point, huh?
Absolutely not, no.
But kids listening, do your homework.
Yes.
I guess just kind of the whole Midwest region. I mean, Wichita, Kansas City, just got a lot of soccer pipeline there.
Absolutely, and actually, the soccer community has grown massively since I've left and come back now. When I was here, it was like the academy, and then there really wasn't a whole lot of really challenging competition outside of that. But now as you come back, you've got multiple clubs in multiple cities, and it's like you've got these leagues now that are, really good. And so, you don't have to travel as far now to play better teams. You can stay local and not spend as much money. So it's really nice.
So what's been your favorite memory being back with the Comets, or being with the Comets?
Favorite memory? I don't know. I'm going to have to come back on that one. Let me think about that one.
Yeah, no problem. I just want to let you know that one of the reasons I asked for you, I talked to you before, and I've like I said, I've known you since you were, I will say young. You're never little. You're always tall. But one of the reasons I did ask for you specifically was that a couple of fans wanted to get to know you a little bit better.
Oh, that's awesome, because it's like, even though I'm not getting the minutes, it is still cool to know that the fans still care about you, and to feel a part of the team still is very, very helpful.
So what's the most interesting fact about you that we haven't already covered?
Most interesting fact.
I know these are never easy questions.
Honestly, probably the most interesting is my eating habits. if you gave me a full plate of just bacon, I could eat that as a meal, and I would be completely okay with it. Just a pound of bacon.
I know, I'm with you there, man.
Yeah, it's so good, and I don't know, I've never wanted like scrambled eggs and bacon and all that. Just give me a plate of bacon. I'm happy.
I know, I was kind of made a joke online one day about, who doesn't love bacon, and somebody responded, I don't like bacon.
Yeah, but it's like, I guess another one would be is I don't eat any fruit. I'm big on texture, so the texture freaks me out on all of them, actually. I can eat an apple,
okay,
but I only eat them maybe once or twice a year.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting for an athlete to not want fruit at all.
Yeah, but I do make it up in vegetables.
Okay.
I eat a lot of veggies, but no fruit.
what would be your favorite pregame meal?
Favorite pregame meal, probably fettuccine Alfredo. Chicken Alfredo.
Cool. So you could go for carbonara, similar, and it kind of has a little Italian bacon in it. So.
Yeah, but isn't that red sauce?
No.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was red because I don't like tomatoes. The texture.
All right, man. You are a unique guy here.
Yep.
What's your favorite music?
Hip-hop for sure.
Artist? Particular artist or two?
Lil Baby.
Yeah?
Yeah, Lil Baby and Lil Durk.
Okay. I know Lil Baby. I don't know Lil Durk. That's not my genre there, but movies? Books?
My all-time favorite movie is Radio.
Yeah?
I love that movie. Probably a second close would be Friday Night Lights.
Okay.
So.
Cool. I was going to say if you were talking to the fans, but what would you want the fans to know about you or them? How you feel?
Man, the support that you guys give us, it means the world. Even though we may not show it all the times, it definitely makes a huge difference in how we perform and, the readiness and the mentality of when we come out to play, So thank you guys, and, hope to keep seeing you guys out there.
I'll say in the background the sirens are going off. That's another good Midwest thing.
Yeah, I'm not used to hearing those anymore. What is it, every Wednesday, first Wednesday of the month, you get the tornado sirens? Yeah. Yeah, in California, you don't get those.
No, they don't have earthquake sirens, right?
Yeah, no, you don't even know when they're coming.
I have been at sporting practice and stuff and seen foreign players hear that for the first time, and they're looking around like, what is going on?
Yeah, no, I came back and I almost forgot about it. I was like, wait, what is that? And I was like, oh, tornadoes. Forgot about those.
Cool. All right, man. Appreciate the time. Keep it simple for you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, and we are out.